All right, what up, fellas? We're back. You know what I'm saying? I hope you guys had a good break. I know I did, and I'm ready. I'm ready to get back into it, right? All right. So as you know, for season three, the new seasonal mechanic is the construct, the little pet. Um, I do have some thoughts on the pet. And I kind of want to address that now. So I'm not sure how good these pets are going to be, and what I mean by that is, in terms of damage, right? What I'm thinking is, I'm thinking in terms of damage, they're not going to be that good, only because companions in this game historically have not been good. So what I'm thinking, they're going to more serve as like support, to give you kind of buffs, but also, um, I don't. When I show you this build, I'm not really going to go into detail on the constructs, that much because they don't tell you cooldowns. They don't tell you. We don't know what the attack speed is like for certain things, and so it kind of throws a lot of things up in the air. We also don't know duration of certain buffs that they can give you. Um, but I'll just give you a general idea of what I'm going to use in terms of the construct, right? But outside of that, let's start with the Druid. Um, okay, so here's the thing. I have two Druids that I'm going to be working with, right? Now, the first one is the main one that I want to try out. I want to try something new. I want to make a Trampslide build. Um, Now, if I don't end up liking this build, I do have a backup, and it'll be Pulverize. I have hesitations on Pulverize because, as you know, they nerfed Overpower, and I'm not quite sure if it's still going to be good or not. Um, so I'm going to hold off on it. And plus, like I said, I want to try something new. So I'm going to go over the Trampslide build. So for starters, we're going with Vastly's Prayer, right? The purpose of Vastly's Prayer is because we are using Landslide, and Landslide is an Earth skill. It's not a Werebear skill, right? So we have to use Vastly's Prayer, or else we don't take advantage of all the benefits of being in bear form, right? Now, for the chess piece, we're not going with Insatiable Fury here, and the reason being, see, part of the problem, if we use Insatiable Fury, if we come over here to the armor values, right? If we use Insatiable Fury, this armor value right here will go down by a lot. See, now it goes down to 9,000. Then we get a ton of Werebear armor, but the problem is, my concern is that since we'll be using a Poison Creeper, this will be the only time we truly are in human form. And essentially, I'd just rather be as close to that armor cap as possible. Now, this obviously isn't that close, because the cap is, what, 13k for a tier 100. But this Werebear armor in Werebear will be at the cap, so we don't necessarily need Disobedience. Yeah, so that's just my hesitation there. So instead, we're going with a triple damage reduction chest piece with total armor. And right here, we're using the aspect of Quicksand, just so that our earth skills can slow. Now, this aspect can potentially be removed. And it all depends on how these constructs work, right? And when I go over the constructs, I'll circle back to this just so you can see what I'm talking about. Next, on the gloves, we're going to have just the standard crit strike chance, attack speed, lucky hit chance, 4 ranks landslide. And you're going to want the subterranean aspect. This makes it so that when we activate Poison Creeper, it also activates landslide. For the legs, we're going with a standard legs. We're not going with Tabolt's Will. And again, this is another thing that might be kind of up in the air. It all depends on the construct again. But for now, we're going to play it safe, and we're going to go with regular legs. And we're going to get damage reduction from close, damage reduction from distance, and then you're going to get total armor and total armor while in Werebear. And for now, we're going to go with the Mending Stone aspect. That way we have extra duration or ultimate bulwark. So that way we can stay unstoppable for longer. This season is going to feel like this aspect might be kind of a must, because we want to stay unstoppable as long as possible. And, we no longer have Metamorphosis, right? So we're definitely going to be feeling the effects of not having Metamorphosis. So this season, I kind of want to use this again. Now, we're going to be using Flicker Step, right? And maybe I'll take a pause here to kind of explain why we're using Flicker Step, right? With this whole interaction of how I kind of want to play it, right? And so we're also using the Eredia's Ring, right? This is the one where you pop an ultimate, it pulls enemies closer to you. So this is kind of how I'm thinking the play style would be, right? So you can trample into a bunch of enemies, right? Then you can pop your ult. Now remember, since this is an earth skill, It's also a werebear skill, so we will not leave bear form, right? We'll still be in bear form. When we pop our ult, everything will be stunned. It's going to bring everything towards the center, right? This will give you time to dash through them, right? To get that cooldown on your ult. And then you can pop Poison Creeper. So that way they're immobilized and they're poisoned. And it's also popping a Landslide. And then anything that you need to finish off, you can just pop a regular Landslide to finish it off. And in theory, it should be good. And you get 2 pulls with the Eredia's ring. So on that second pull, you would do the same thing, right? The second pull, you would just Poison Creeper. Then you can dash through, and then you can hit them with Landslide. So in theory, that's how it will go, right? Again, I don't know if this is going to work out. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I want to try something new. And again, these build videos at the beginning of the scenes are always rough drafts, and most likely this will be completely different from the final version of the build. But you know, it's just what I'm starting out with. We're going with a one-handed axe here. And you're going to want all stats, willpower, damage to poison enemies, and core skill damage. And what we're going to use here is the aspect of Trampled Earth. This makes it so that Trample summons 6 landslide pillars. Now, I will say this. Because this build doesn't have a reliable way to reset Trample, we can reliably reset Poison Creeper and potentially never have to truly cast Landslide. But we don't have a reliable way of resetting Trample. So with that being said, if you don't necessarily see the benefit of having Trample summon these 6 landslides, then you can absolutely take this off. For me, this is kind of more of a fun factor. Like, it'd just be kind of cool and kind of fun to just have that extra landslide. But I don't think it's make or break for this build, to be honest. You could easily move this retaliation here, and then maybe put something like Crash Stone aspect here. And the reason why I say you would take retaliation off and put it here in Crash Stone is because even though Crash Stone only works on crowd control enemies, retaliation actually got nerfed. And so now instead of it doing between ranges of 20% and 40%, it's now 20% and 30%. So this is actually not going to be 60%. So if you want a true 60% increased damage, you would have to use the Crash Stone aspect, right? But again, that only works on crowd control enemies, and so it would also not work on bosses. So again, a lot of stuff up in there are going to kind of figure it out as we go. But for now, this is what I would like to use, right? So on the amulet, you're going to want total armor, spear cost reduction, movement speed, and 3 ranks 10 venom. And again, you're going to be using Eredia's ring. On the second ring, you're going to want the aspect of Umbro. Now, I have my doubts that you will need this aspect of Umbral, right? I have my doubts. And the reason why I say that is because every time we get kills with Petrify, we're getting 25 spirit. Whenever we cast Poison Creeper, it casts Landslide, and we're not using spirit. If you decide to keep Trample with the Trampled Earth aspect, that will also not cost spirit, right? And so the only time you would truly be using spirit is if you use landslide. And by the time you have to use landslide, there's a good chance that your spirit will be full anyway, right? So I have my doubts that Umbra will be needed, but for now, just to play it safe, we'll keep it on. But if I feel like my resource issues are fine, then I probably won't. I probably will take this off, right? But we'll see. Then on the totem, you're going to want the aspect of Aftershock. This just makes it so landslide's pillars each hit a second time, right? And they also do bonus damage. And for here, you're going to want lucky hit chance, crit strike chance, spear cost, and willpower, right? All right. So now we're going to quickly go over the spear boons. So for the stag, you're going to want wariness. For the eagle, you're going to want iron feather. And we're going with Avian Wrath now. In the past, I like to use Scythe Talons for the crit chance, but Avian Wrath is actually buffed. Maxroll hasn't reflected the buff, but this is no longer additive 30%. This is now multiplicative 30%. So this is a huge buff right here. So we're definitely going to go with this now. For the wolf, you're going to want Pack Leader. This makes it so that we have a lucky hit chance to reset the cooldowns of our companion skills, which will be this right here. And then for the snake, we're going to be using Masochistic, just so that we can get some health back. If you feel like you don't need this health, and you feel like you're fine, you could easily go with Calm Before the Storm. So that way you have a even more of a chance to keep reducing Petrify. You could easily do that. There is a good chance that maybe I'll take off Iron Feather and put it here. But me personally, I like the extra health. I like the tankiness. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just leave that there, but we'll see. There's a good chance I take this off and put this here, or even swap this here and go here, but we'll have to see. Then we'll go over the skill tree real quick. So your first 2 points don't matter. You can put them into anything because we don't use a basic skill. Then you're going to go with 1 point in the Heart of the Wild, 3 points in the Wild Impulses. You're going to go have 9 points in the Landslide, Enhanced Landslide, Primal Landslide. The reason why you want to go Primal Landslide over Raging Landslide, excuse me, is because Primal Landslide, every time you immobilize or stun an enemy, you gain a Terra Mote. Each enemy hit by Landslide consumes a Terra Mote, causing a guaranteed critical strike with 40 times increased critical strike damage. And bosses have a 10% chance to grant a Terra Mote when hit. So this is definitely the one you want to go with for that 40% multi, for sure. Then you're going to go 1 point into Predatory Instincts, 3 points into Iron Fur, 1 point into Earthen Bulwark. You have Enhanced Bulwark and Preserving Bulwark. You're going to go 1 point into Ancestral Fortitude, 3 points into Vigilance, 1 point into Debilitating Roar, 1 point into Enhanced Debilitating Roar, 3 points into Nature's Reach, 1 point into Poison Creeper, Enhanced Poison Creeper, Brutal Poison Creeper. One thing to note, because we end up using this Brutal Poison Creeper, you have a chance to get a crit chance of 42%. Again, assuming you get perfect rolls on everything. So that plus the 20%, you're looking at about 60% potential crit chance whenever you use Poison Creeper. So very good chance that you'll always have that 60%. Obviously not on bosses. I don't think it works on bosses, but everything else, you'll get that chance. Then you're going to want 3 points into Crushing Earth, 2 points into Safeguard, 3 points into Stone Guard. Now, I will say this. So you with this Crushing Earth and with Nature's Reach, you get that increased damage to slow, stun, immobilized, or knock back enemies. Now, Landslide, it can immobilize, right? And Poison Creeper, because we have 1 point into Neurotoxin, when we poison, they're slowed, right? So we have pretty reliable ways to get these bonuses, right? Without having to use Quicksand. But for now, this whole build, we're going to be playing it safe. But there is a good chance that I'll end up taking this off, and maybe I'll throw something like Disobedience on here or something like that. Or maybe I'll even bring this Mending Stone up here, and maybe we'll end up putting Bolts here. But we have to see, right? For right now, this is just a play it safe build. It's going to be tanky because we also don't know how strong these Vaults are going to be and what they're going to be looking like. So again, this whole build is just playing it safe, just a rough draft. Next, we have 1 point to Trample, Enhanced Trample, and Savage Trample. 1 point to Neurotoxin, 3 points into an Envenom, and we get 6 because we have the 3 ranks on the amulet. And also, again, Max Roll has not reflected this change, but this is during the update, they're going to change this tooltip, and this is actually multiplicative. So we're getting 60% multiplicative damage against poison enemies. And we're going to go 1 point to Petrify, 1 point into Prime Petrify, 1 point into Supreme Petrify. You're going to want 1 point into Defiance, 3 points into Natural Disaster, and then you're going to have 3 points into Quick Shift. And as far as the key passive goes, right? For now, I'm using Ursine Strength. And I think this should be good, but potentially Earthen might be the best in slot here. I'm not sure yet. Again, you get a 25 times increased damage multiplier, plus you get additional max life, or you just get a chance to restore all your spirit. And then you also get guaranteed crits for 5 seconds. So depending on how often, I'm going to try both, right? For now, again, playing it safe. But again, there's big potential here because if we use this, then yeah, we can really change things up, because then there's really a high chance that we'll not have spirit issues at all, and then we can take off Umbral. But again, for now, we're just playing it safe. And we will have a pretty high lucky hit chance. Our lucky hit chance bonus right now is sitting at a 43%, but that does not include our Paragon board, which is the next thing we'll cover, right? And so I'll just start right here real quick. So for the Tectonic glyph, you get a 15% increased lucky hit chance, and that is not calculated into this lucky hit chance bonus. See, if I remove this glyph right here, the 43% stays exactly the same. So Maxwell does not calculate that, and this actually got buffed. This is not 15%, it's now 20%. For our lucky hit chance bonus will actually be 63%. Again, assuming you get perfect rolls and everything, you can potentially get a 63% lucky hit chance. So that's pretty insane, right? Let's just go over the Paragon board. So the starting board, we'll be using Outmatch. That way we can boost our damage and resistance to all elements. And this makes it so we deal 16 times increased damage to physical damage to non-elites and bosses. And there are bosses in the vault. And it's a stationary boss, so this is perfect, right? So this is actually useful. Then we're going the Ancestral Guidance board, and we're using Earth and Sky. This is going to boost our core skill damage, our resistance to elements, and it's going to make it so nature magic skills deal 10 times increased damage to crowd control and vulnerable enemies. Then we're going to move up here to this Constricting Tendrils, and we're going to use Fang and Claw. This is just for the multi when we're in Werebear, as well as the maximum life. Then we're going to come up here to Survival Instincts, and we're going to be using Tectonic for the lucky hit chance and the crit chance. Making sure that we grab the Survival Instincts legendary node, right? Then you're going to go over here to Inner Beast, and you're going to use Exploit. That way we have a reliable way of proccing vulnerable. Remember, you want to make enemies vulnerable because you're getting a ×20 multi whenever you do. So we want a reliable way to make things vulnerable. For the last board, I don't know how I did this, but I actually figured out a way to not only get a 6th glyph, which will be Spirit, which gives us more crit strike damage and a multi attached to it, but I also was able to come down here and grab the Heightened Malice legendary node. So now, in a perfect world, when you're grouping enemies up, you will at least have 3 enemies grouped up, right, when you do your pulls, and then you poison them with Poison Creeper. And so now you're getting the 60% from Envenom multiplicative, plus you're getting the potential 45% when there's 3 or more poison enemies nearby. So we're talking about every time you have poison enemies grouped up, you're doing 105 increased damage. And don't forget, enemies that are petrified, you deal 30 times increased damage. So on that one big burst that you'll do on a group of enemies, you're looking at what, 135 increased damage just from these 3 things alone. So it's pretty insane. And one last thing, I tried to work in the Earth and Devastation board just so I could get this this legendary node. The only problem is, because we're not able to use a staff on this build, at least for now, maybe I can figure out a way to make it work. Like, for example, if I get rid of Trample, we could easily just put a staff here, maybe take something off or something like that, but I don't know yet, right? And so because of that, you do not, it is very challenging to get a lot of damage to crowd control, right? You only get 18% here, you only get 18% here. This isn't a staff, so you don't get that implicit damage for free. And so the highest I was able to get this node to, like, and that was including adding these little nodes right here, was like 25%. And it just didn't seem worth it when we can just use Heightened Malice and get 45%. Obviously, Earth and Devastation's legendary node would be proccing all the time because there's no condition on it compared to this, but you know, it is what it is. With that being said, for the Pulverizer build, I was able to get it. So if you do want to use the Pulverized build, I was able to actually grab it this time. It's a 6 Paragon board. It's pretty much the same as the one that I used last season. The only difference is this time, again, I made sure I grabbed the legendary node, and you're able to get the 40 times bonus. So if the Trampslide kind of isn't your style, you're more than welcome to, you know, try this one out. I think this one is just as good. You know, you have an armor value of 7.5 plus the 116 Werebear armor. So you'll have well over, you'll have 13k armor for sure. You have plenty of good damage reduction because we're not using Tibolt's Will. But you know, maybe you're a god and you can use it and you don't need all this damage reduction. It's very possible. But yeah, so these are the two builds. I won't really go into detail on the pulverized build because I don't know if I'm going to actually play it. I'm only going to play it if this build ends up being bad. And maybe if I get enough gear for it, I'll make like a quick video on the pulverized, but I don't know if that's going to be my main focus. I think I want to try to make this Trampslide build work. Oh, and now we got to go over the constructs. Excuse my little notepad here. Essentially, I have the gist. I just copied and pasted all the important stuff, right? Important stuff just being a description of what the companion does, the construct, the rules. You can equip 2 governing stones and 6 tuning stones. 1 governing stone for each of your different attacks, and you get 3 tuning stones to buff each of these 2 governing stones, right? There are 12 different governing stones, and there are 27 different tuning stones. Here I have the ones that I think are the ones that I'm most interested in, and then here are the ones for the tuning stones that I think they're the most interested in. So these aren't the full list. You can easily find the full list on just type in Diablo 4 whatever, and you'll find it, right? So for Trampslide, right, I want to talk about 2 things real quick, right? Because I said I don't want to go into a lot of detail with these abilities because we don't know how they work. They don't give you durations. They don't give you cooldowns. They don't tell you damage and all that. So all this is up for interpretation, right? But the one thing that I know is probably going to be broken is this Tempest governing stone, right? And what it reads is you electrically charge an enemy, causing it to deal damage to themselves and additional enemies each second over time. If the enemy is killed, Tempest spreads to another enemy, gaining an additional time and bonus damage. These bonuses are also applied if Tempest is reapplied onto the same enemy. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't know if this damage is even going to be significant, but what's important here is that you have an AoE ability that has the ability to spread to other enemies, right? And that's huge. And the reason why I say that is because, for example, the way you can kind of work these, and I'll be incorporating this into most of my builds, right? We can do something like poison support, right? So we can make it so that this Tempest thing, because this Tempest thing has a chance to constantly keep resetting itself if it's able to kill anything, right? But that's not even important. We just want it to be able to spread to additional enemies, and now it can spread poison. And what that means is now we're able to take advantage of Envenom more reliably, and we're able to take advantage of the Heightened Malice legendary node more reliably because we're able to spread poison more. We don't have to constantly rely on Poison Creeper. So this is huge, right? Now again, maybe this isn't needed, so maybe we'll take this off and maybe something better can be put here. But for now, this is what I'm going with. If I do end up taking this off because I feel like I can reliably poison enemies, I think I might try this registered damage support. Essentially, it makes it so that there's constant explosions whenever damage is registered. So this just sounds like it goes hand in hand with Tempest. And you can just constantly have things charging and exploding, and it just sounds good, right? We definitely want arsing support for the so it can hit additional enemies. This is going to be huge whether or not you choose to use register damage or you choose to use poison support. And it also makes sense that you use resource support, right? Because this could absolutely be broken, right? If you get an amount of primary resource when the supporting skill first deals damage, remember every time this chains into something else, it's doing damage for the first time to a different enemy, and it can constantly reset and keep chaining. So in theory, if this is as OP as I think it is, we will absolutely not need Umbral, and we'll be able to start cheesing and do different things with the build. And the build will absolutely change. But again, we don't know what this amount is because it doesn't specify, which I hate. But we're going to have to figure it out. And again, which is why I said my build is safe. But as you can see, you can start to see what I'm saying. A lot of things are up in the air. And the build is most likely going to change completely once we start to figure these things out, right? Now, the second one that I'm really, really interested in is this Flash of Adrenaline. It administers a quick flash of adrenaline into the player, granting bonus damage for a duration. Now, with that being said, Again, it doesn't tell you what this bonus damage is. This bonus damage could be additive, it could be multiplicative. If it's multiplicative, depending on how much it is, this could be crazy. Because essentially the way the construct could work is you have one ability that attacks and one ability that supports you, right? And I mean, this isn't really an attack, it's more of a support because you're getting this resource support, and you're spreading that poison, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? And the way I have this set up is, so when you first get hit with this flash of adrenaline, you're getting this bonus damage. Then it's also applying safeguard support, which gives you damage reduction. So you're getting damage reduction and you're getting bonus damage. For now I have decreased the cooldown just because again we don't know what the cooldown of this is. And then we also have duration support. So that way the duration, because again it doesn't tell you how long it is. Maybe this is only 5 seconds, maybe this doubles it. And maybe this makes it so that because we have this, we don't really notice the cooldown because the effect almost lasts as long as the cooldown, if you get what I'm going at. So essentially, we have this to spread poison and as well as giving us primary resource. And then we have this over here to give us bonus damage and to give us damage reduction. So I think this could be crazy. This is what I'm going to start with. And again, depending on cooldowns, durations, and all that good stuff, it will have me change up the build a lot. But again, for now, it's just a rough draft. So that's all I got. I think the only other build guide or build video I'll probably make is one on my sorcerer. I'm trying something new on barbarian and rogue, and so I don't want to post videos on that because I'm not sure how that's going to go, and I don't want to put it out there. I'm just going to start with 2 build videos. And yeah, that's all I got. Peace.